Welcome back. We came in session 5. I hope it's the last one. I would like to introduce our next speaker. Is Dr. Joanna Camilo. She is Executive Director of Creating Health, Research and Innovation, Portugal, and the subject is New Approaches to Funding Opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all. It's my pleasure and my honor to be here to receive the invitation from Agora and also from Liga Portuguesa de Doenças Reumáticas. On one hand, because I belong and I'm heading an office that is devoted to support organizations such as patient associations to identify and to apply to health research, innovation, funding for projects, and also because I'm also a chronic patient and I'm involved in the patient association in Portugal. So I also know some of the struggles that all the organizations that are members of Agora have been and have, and also the need to identify different funding opportunities for the projects and for the mission and the needs of the association. So it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you once again for the invitation. I don't want to scare, of course. I just want, my idea with this slide is also to highlight and to confirm that we have different funding opportunities at local, at national, at international level that can and should be used by associations such as patient organizations. We have multiple sources of information. The information is scattered around different platforms, and it's of course important on one hand to identify, but try to diverse the funding instruments. So my main message is that we have a lot of funding opportunities for research, for education, for trainings, that I understood that some of the main activities and mission of Agora to develop within its mission. So looking in terms of mission sustainability to the activities that are pursued by patient associations, there are several activities regarding information, raising awareness, advocating, promotion of health education, health literacy, research and innovation, training, promotion of social inclusion, access to care and therapeutic interventions. Of course, not all associations work on these areas, but some of them do. And indeed, we have different funding opportunities to answer the needs for funding to develop these activities. We have funding opportunities at public level, so national public organizations, agencies that provide funds that can be used by patient organizations to apply and to develop their activities. We have, for instance, national structural funds within programs such as Interact, that is available for the countries involved in your organizations. We have also European projects that are funded by the citizens. It's a public source of funding for research and innovation. I will provide a slide with information, with a quick overview on these funding opportunities. These are large-scale programs, but they have projects under which you, as a patient organization, can perform and can be involved in order to obtain funding, at the same time answer your needs. We have also other sources of information and initiatives like crowdfunding campaigns, collaborative funding, and of course private foundations, private companies that provide also funding for the activities of patient organizations and charities. And we have also prizes. So we have different funding opportunities, funding sources, and my main suggestions, if I can, is to make a SWOT analysis of your organization. The SWOT analysis, so to identify, most of you have already done that. So what are your big strengths in terms of organization? What are your bottlenecks? What might be your bottlenecks? What are your needs? To conduct a needs assessment in order to identify and to explore the proper funding instrument. Sometimes we look at the funding opportunity and we say, this fits to my need, this apparently fits to my need, but at the end it doesn't fit your need. And if we invest our resources as patient associations, invest our resources in terms of time, in human resources, attention, in funding that perhaps doesn't serve the needs of the organization, we are scattering efforts and not getting the fund, because with competitive funds we don't have always a success rate that is good, and it is competitive. So we are competing. The organizations are competing with different organizations. So it's important to identify what are the needs and what are the funds that may match and answer the needs. We have different funding opportunities, and when we are talking and advising a patient organization that it is on their early days, we advise to identify local funds, national funds, and then go to European. But just to highlight that there are different possibilities that can help you to get the funds. On another level, I would like to recall that we have different kinds of funding opportunities. There are funding opportunities, calls for proposals that are specifically dedicated to a particular disease area, for instance, at national level or at international level, calls for proposals where you can apply for funding, where they identify specific topics and opportunities for rheumatic disease. But then we also have, in a more bottom-up approach, opportunities that address that are not specific for this particular disease, but they are open to be submitted to receive different funding, different applications from different disease areas, and perhaps these have different levels of competitiveness. So it's important to align what is your need, what is the project that you want to develop, that you have established in your activity plan for the next year, for the next 2 years, and to program it to it and to try to identify what are the funding opportunities that may be completely in line with your needs. And of course, it's important to check, for instance, if you have identified a funding scheme and it seems that it's matching the need, the funding level that you need, try to identify what are the projects that have been funded previously, because with this information we know more or less what the program is expecting to receive, what the program is trying to fund. So it's important to study it, and of course we are talking about investments, and the resources are limited, but this is an investment that either internally with the human resources dedicated to this activity, either in collaboration with other organizations, under umbrella organizations like Agora, you can try to identify and to explore the funding instrument that better suits your needs. Of course, when we are talking about specific, I just tried to, and this is of your knowledge, so I will just go briefly. There are specific, as I said, specific opportunities for, in this case, improving research methods, capabilities and processes for within rheumatic disease research. And of course, there are other funding programs that are more open and may not have topics opportunities specifically within the rheumatics and musculoskeletal disorders, but can be open to applications like this one. So the U4Health program for 2021-27, it's the fourth program that is dedicated to support health research within the European Union. Organizations such as patient associations can apply to some of the funding opportunities, either individually, either in consortia, so together with other organizations. And while I'm just going to rise, perhaps it's already of your knowledge, but while expecting for the next funding cycle, for the next 2023 work program, there was a joint statement that was launched by several patient organizations, umbrella organizations, on the need that emphasize the need for the next cycle of funding by the U4Health program to once again launch operating grants. Operating grants are those grants that allow organizations such as patient organizations and other member organizations of the civil society to apply to fund for their internal structural activities and for their sustainability. So these are very important because they can alleviate the need to have, for instance, private funds or funding from private companies, and to allow the implementation of the activities and the plan for activities of the civil society and NGOs that work within the health area. So this is a joint statement as an umbrella organization. I believe you are not yet seconding this initiative, but it's very important to ensure that the next calls have the operating grants that are necessary. There is, I don't know if you are aware of, have been participating or identifying funding opportunities within Horizon Europe, which is the current main funding instrument for health research and innovation. But I would just like to recall the previous framework program, which is Horizon 2020, which ended in 2020, as the name says. And indeed, throughout this program, which started in 2014, the patient voice was called by the European Commission and by several stakeholders to be more in the practice of the research and innovation projects, to be more involved, to echo the voice of patients, of caregivers also, and of the civil society. So with the Horizon 2020 program, the calls for proposals started to foster the engagement of patient organizations, of federations of patient organizations. Of course, this was somehow top-down and more in theory, but of course it's important to ensure that this also is implemented in practice, and that the patient organizations are really involved in the health research and innovation projects in different levels. So this was a call that was and has been also reinforced within the current framework program, which is called Horizon Europe, which, as you are aware, has also funding opportunities within larger scale research projects. So this might seem far-fetched, and perhaps you're not yet involved or have been involved in specific activities or endeavors within the Horizon Europe. But indeed, this is a funding opportunity that should be at least studied or explored by the patient organizations. It's the main funding program for the next 5 years until 2027, and we have different funding opportunities. And when the Commission started to call and emphasize the need to involve in theory, but of course we are looking to testify this in practice, there was a shift in the paradigm. So we started having not only research projects with academia, with research centers, but also with entities of the civil society, patient associations, citizen associations. So this kind of calls expect to have the involvement of all the research performance, but also from organizations that will help to validate, to disseminate, and it will be the end users. When we are talking about health research, the end users are the patients, are the citizens. So fortunately, the European Commission has recognized this need and has fostered it, and it's good, and it's very good to notice the efforts from academia and from the companies, the research centers, to try to involve, but we can, and the organizations, as patient organizations, can also have a proactive role in this level. Of course, it's not expected to have, at least in the first steps, to have a patient organization with a particular dimension, critical mass, as a proponent, as a leader in the consortium, but we should consider that patient organizations should, within time and with critical mass and capacity, move forward as partners and also as possible leads, coordinators of these projects, even within research and innovation, because as it is mentioned in this slide, to really address the health challenges, we need to involve different expertise, different disciplines, geographies, and different types of organizations that can be useful as patient associations, not only in informing and expressing the pressing needs from patients and from caregivers, but also in providing advice, also expert advice, to the orientation, the guidance of research in health. The involvement can be at different ways, and I have a next slide that devotes attention to the possible involvements. What are the benefits for patient organizations in participating in this kind of projects? Just to highlight that indeed we have different funding opportunities within Horizon Europe, and I will leave you also a slide on an example of project that involved a patient organization, an organization that represented rheumatic patients with rheumatic diseases. And here, what are the reasons? So why you should dedicate your time to explore or to keep exploring this kind of funding. So it's a way to be involved directly in research, to represent, and of course, it is a channel to echo the voice of patients, caregivers. You can participate in dissemination of results of the activities and to help to translate the research into information that can be perceived by society, by patients, by citizens. And of course, is a way of networking, of accessing to expertise. Most of the organizations have a scientific counseling, an advisory board. This is a way to enlarge networking, to enlarge the synergies and collaborations within organizations, and also a way to liaise with policymakers, involvement in clinical trials, in clinical studies, support the patients' enrollment. There are a lot of benefits that can, depending on the organization, on the activities, can help to address and to implement your action plan and your strategy. So you can participate as a full partner. In principle, in these large-scale projects, the umbrella organizations such as Agora are more frequently present in the consortium, but can involve their members at local level, at national level. So it's a way to be engaged. Also, as stakeholders, some projects have settled ecosystems around the research project or member of the advisory board. Indeed, there are a lot of ways to participate. This is an example of an H2020 project that perhaps it's of your knowledge, which it's still devoted to the molecular mechanisms of arthritic disease resolution. It involves 8 partners to support the training of 12 young researchers, and it's one of the examples that involves an organization that represents patients in the Netherlands. So this is just an example, and there are other ways to be involved and to increase the odds of being involved and participate in the applications for health research and innovation projects. So this is another program which is called IHI, Innovative Health Initiative, which is the follow-up of a great initiative I think it's indeed a great initiative, which is called Innovative Medicines Initiative, which started in 2008, and the main goal was, and it still is to promote health, to support health research and innovation through a public-private partnership between the European Commission through the European Union, by the European Union through the European Commission, and also in the first stage by the FPA, but now it involves other organizations such as COSIR and Europa Bio. Other funding sources, we have EA grants. I don't know if you have been exploring or in contact with EA grants. EA grants is also a mechanism that is supported by Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, and has the 2 goals of contributing to a more equal Europe, both at social and economic levels, and also to strengthen the relations between Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, and 15 beneficiary states. It has national agencies that help to implement the program, but just to say that this is a program that has funding opportunities for countries such as Cyprus, such as Portugal, also Malta. So we have here also funding opportunities for sustainability of the organizations. So they launch calls where you can apply to funds to support the operational implementation of your organizations. So these are some of the programs. You have different calls. It's a funding opportunity that has been explored and has been used by several patient organizations at different levels. For the organizations that are devoted, such as Agora, to education, to promote research, and to promote training, there is also Erasmus+. It's devoted more to academia and to not only to academia. Indeed, it is especially directed to academia, but it can and should involve other stakeholders. For instance, in the education, higher education or training of organizations, of professionals and of students in order, for instance, to support the care and to increase the care in a particular area. There are two areas where we believe that that are useful for patient organizations, which are support to policy development, collaboration. Here you have opportunities together with other organizations to be involved and support policy development and cooperation, and also capacity building. It's very important to involve, as I mentioned, for Horizon Europe, for other funding schemes, to involve not only the ones that perform, develop research, but also the ones that will use the results of research. Some practical suggestions, let's say. So it's advised, we advise to also to start as soon as possible. If you are trying to explore a particular funding instrument, if you need funding, a competitive funding besides support from companies and support from private organizations, it's important to start early and to invest in networking, to use every moment, coffee break, lunchtime, to get in contact with everyone that might be, can become, of course, in synergy, a possible collaborator. There is the possibility that several funding agencies are open to get in contact with stakeholders and organizations that might be their future beneficiaries. So it's important to engage, to contact, to present your organization to possible funding agencies, and also to contribute to the process. There are some funding schemes that are open, such as the Innovative Health Initiative, that are open to get insights and inputs from the community, from the society, not only from the research community, but also from stakeholders such as patient organizations. So there are opportunities to engage and try to, for instance, if you together with several organizations identify a pressing need that needs funding, there's a way to suggest and to put forward this need. There's another way. I don't know. I know that some of you are involved in the evaluation of funding programs, in the monitoring of funding programs, and indeed, this is a way for patient organizations to have an active role in research, for instance, or in better exploring the funding opportunities. We hear, and I think we all testify that when we put our hands in the work, when we are involved in practicing in a particular activity, it's a way to gain insights, to gain experience. And indeed, by registering yourself, for instance, as an expert, of course, it depends on your profile, on your experience, but it's open. This database, it's open for everyone that has a particular expertise, background, and experience, not only in terms of the developing research, but also in terms of disseminating or providing other type of insight, is open to be involved as evaluators. So we encourage very much the organizations to register themselves as a possible evaluator, an organization as an individual expert. There's also the possibility, and will be launched again this year, the possibility to join the IMI pool of experts. So, of course, once again, when the calls are launched, the funding agencies start to organize the evaluation panel. So the group of experts that will evaluate the proposals that are received in the calls, and they need different kinds of expertise. IMI has launched in the last years the possibility of patient advocates, of patient organizations to express their willingness and their availability to be involved. It's not sure if you register yourself that you'll be called in the next year or 2 years, but you will integrate a database. It's a call for expression of interest, a database where the European Commission, or where the IHI now can try to identify, to engage you in a possible evaluation, not only evaluation of projects that are submitted for calls, but also in the monitoring of projects. So these are other ways to gain insights, to gain hands-on practice that will help you in exploring more efficiently any possible funding instrument. as I suggest earlier, it's important when you are trying to engage and trying to apply for a particular funding scheme to know what has been the track record of projects that were funded. So the information, because we're talking about public funds that are funded by the citizens, by the taxpayers, it's important to have this information freely publicly available. And there are databases where you can search, for instance, for a particular words that can guide the search. You can find access to the several projects, and in case if you search for health, you will find almost 100,000 years, sorry, because we're talking about funding, 1,000 results for health. So it's important to keep track. Of course, I'm suggesting this, and this takes time. This takes time, and sometimes organizations struggle to implement their own activities, and it's very challenging and sometimes difficult or impossible to allocate time for this. But this is something, it's a good practice that we must say that is possible and should be explored. And then invest in networking. As I said, it's important to be at the right time, at the right place, and to seize the opportunity when it comes, or to foster the appearance of an opportunity. There are a lot of ways, such as events such as the Agora conference or other events that are taking place at national and international European level, that can be a very good opportunity to network with possible partners to engage in a future application. I will just provide information about one tool, which is called IC-PERMED Partnering Tool. IC-PERMED is an initiative devoted to support and to fund personalized medicine, personalized care for. It's not a disease-specific platform. It's open to all diseases, and it engages several funding organizations in the health that are committed to foster personalized care and personalized medicine. And they provide a partnering tool where you can register yourself and check what are the organizations that are based in this registry, and then explore possible collaborations. I don't know if you have heard about Cost Actions. Cost Actions are a networking tool for researchers, but they are also open to other stakeholders. It's also an important way of engaging, of identifying possible collaborators in research projects, in education projects, and also in training initiatives. So if it can be useful, there are several cost actions that are devoted to rheumatic and musculoskeletal diseases, and so I really advise to at least check this cost action platform. And then just the last slides, because I know we are at the Saturday afternoon after the lunch, and I understand that this is a lot of information, but I hope that it can be useful for the future. And please don't hesitate to pose any questions. What can we do to increase the odds and to identify? The first, I only have 2-3 slides about this. So on one hand, as I tried to mention earlier, is that we should identify the pressing needs of the organization. What is the action plan? What is your strategy? And then, among all the possibilities, try to identify what will be the funding program or the combination of funding programs, of funding opportunities that can answer the needs. And as mentioned, it's important to capitalize the presence on scientific and other events, to be at the right place at the right time, to become visible and demonstrate the added value. Why to involve you as a partner? Because, and I mentioned this because, of course, the patient organizations are applying and should apply individual for their own projects, but there is also the possibility of joining efforts with other organizations, of other sorts of organizations, and try to apply for a bigger project that can answer your needs, but at the same time can advance activities in terms of research, of education, training at a more broader level. So it's important to target the right funding scheme. Sometimes we see a funding scheme, a call that seems to fit, but at the end, if you read and go through all the documents, we can realize that perhaps it's not the most suitable funding scheme. And sometimes we invest our efforts to prepare an application, and the funding scheme is not the proper one. So it's important to study, to understand the strategy of the funder. So what is the strategy of the funding program? What they are looking to fund? If it seems that your project is not well aligned, of course, they don't want to fund the same project from the same organization or from other organizations. Once again, they want to capitalize and to advance the initiatives that have been funded. But it's important to see what kind of project, what kind of initiative, what kind of activities they really want to fund, because this will guide you to better address the call and to better strengthen your proposal. It seems obvious, but sometimes we don't have the necessary time to follow and to address and to read all the call documents, but it's very important. Sometimes there, for instance, the grants that I just talked in one of the past slides, we just supported the patient organization summit yesterday. A proposal for one of the calls, and there are calls where the guidelines not only identify what is expected to be submitted, but they also provide advice. They provide even examples. So if you read the documents, you will get insights that will be very useful for you to reinforce your proposal. And yes, I will yes. I will start. This is one of my last slides. So it's important to prepare a focused, complete, and convincing proposal. You should sell your idea as much as possible, and ask for what is necessary. Engage with partners, engage with people that have experience, have advice. If possible, dedicate someone to be devoted to identify and to help the preparation of applications. For instance, a fundraiser. Some organizations are starting to have fundraisers within their organizations. Contact previous awardees, previous reviewers, leverage on partnerships and on contact points. It's important, once again, to use the funds to answer your specific needs. Try to combine multiple funding schemes. And as I said, try, if possible, have a dedicated or share responsible person that can be shared, a time that can be shared for different organizations, such as, for instance, under an umbrella organization such as Agora. And opportunity rarely knocks on your door. So it's important to knock rather on the opportunity door if you early wish to enter. So this is just a suggestion. You have here my contacts. Thank you once again. Sorry if I...
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Push the time to...
Yeah. Do we have any questions? No?
Thank you so much for this great overview. It's really a lot of information to take in. My question is very simple. Would you be able and kind enough to share the slides with us so each member country can take home all these possibilities of finding funding, because it's really a lot.
Yes, of
Thank
course.
you
Yes,
for sharing this with us.
Yes, no, of course, you can have, if you want, of course, you can have the presentation. It's a lot of information indeed, but I just wanted, my main message is, don't give up. There are many possible funding opportunities. You have to invest, and sometimes you cannot individual as an organization invest your resources on that, but perhaps you can share resources with other organizations that share the same needs or share complementary needs, work in the same field. Synergize, I think it's the way forward also. So this is
Thank you so much.
advice.
Okay. Just what I keep for myself is that each of organization should identify their needs, and before that should set the mission. It's very important.
Yes. You should identify what are the needs in order to find the best answer to address the needs. Because sometimes you can look, if you don't, and sometimes the needs today are not the same needs and will not be the same needs in the next year. So you have your action plan for the next year, for the next 2 years. This will help, based on the experience, to identify what are the funding needs that you have, and then explore and try to combine different funding schemes, because there are several at local, and we advise also always to start local, start national, and then to move forward at an European, for instance, scale. But at the end, if you work in that direction, in principle,
Thank you.
it's not easy, but I think
Yes.
You should consider this also as an investment, and to consider the funding within the strategy for the organization.
Thank you.
Joanna, first of all, I would like to congratulate. Thank you so much for this amazing presentation. I see also how you put a lot of passion, which is really important because all these calls demand a lot of time and a lot of effort. So it's very time consuming. So I have a little experience, no, on Erasmus Plus and Horizon call, no. But my experience now has been that in order to have successful approach, as you say, you need a lot of you need to find a different solution and never give up, no? Which is, I think, key. But another thing which I think I missed from your presentation is the idea of having partners who are expert on supporting the project or the proposal preparation. You know, because for example, if you think in an organization with no experience in such a calls, is key to be partner with a company and both at the universities or also private consultancy that will support you over the process, because it's, as I say, you need to have, especially for the big grants, you need to have at least 1 or 2 persons who are full-time during the 6 months or 1 year of preparation that are just, addressing this and being in contact and, reading well the calls. Because if you think in a patient organization with 2 or 3 employers, the president that is the same who send the emails and who prepare the newsletter and who attend the congress, you go like this with your tongue out, like one dog, So, and on top of that, you ask, go to the European level and go to Cordis and find a suitable proposal, read the call, and in 2 months prepare a good application, and then go to the Brussels and organize the kickoff, and then people say, no, this is not for us. But I think that if you plan and you involve other experts, and especially you have the support, then it's feasible. I don't know what is your opinion.
I completely agree, and thank you for your excellent comments. I completely agree, and I was trying to speed up a little bit because I didn't want to go over the time. But indeed, on one hand, it's important, and I know also I'm a voluntary I'm involved in a patient organization as a founding member and president. Voluntary basis. We are in our early years, so I know in person. Personally the experience, and indeed that's what this is what one of the messages that I tried to pass is, that it's important to start and to invest in networking and to engage with partners. Indeed, try and ask for what is necessary advice, contact resources and support. It's important to have dedicated resources, so a patient organization should depending on, because indeed there are patient organizations that have more experience, that are here for a long time, and that they have started to have dedicated resources, but the majority of patient organizations are not yet at that level. So it's important to try to synergize and to be in contact with potential partners, with the research center with which the organization already collaborates, and try to capitalize their resources. Indeed, in principle, most of the universities, research centers with which you can or are already collaborating have their own resources that are dedicated. So if you start a joint endeavor and a joint collaboration to apply, you can also benefit and get support from their internal structures. And our office is Creating Health is one of the examples. I didn't present you, but we can be, at least for Portuguese organizations and for their partners, we are a consultancy non-for-profit office. So we're not a company. We are part of the Portuguese Catholic University, but our mission is indeed recognizing that patient organizations and other organizations don't have the time, the experience, the sometimes the knowledge and the human resources that are necessary to identify and to apply. This office was created in 2015 to support organizations in that process, in the mapping, in the identification, in the writing of the grant, in the submission of the proposal. And of course, besides creating health, there are different organizations, structures within academia, within research centers, within hospitals, but there are also consultancy companies. So there are different organizations that are devoting their time, 100% or more of their time, to support organizations to apply. And indeed, it's important to ensure the capacity to identify and to apply. And usually it's not within the organizations, so you need to outsource that. But we're an example of an organization of an office that is devoted to support organizations such as patient associations to apply to funds. But there are all, if necessary, can also help you to identify. And if you sometimes these consultancy companies or other partners are part of the project, are part of the consortium, and they help to alleviate the management and the burden, administrative burden that, of course, we need to recognize that all these projects have. But there are ways to overcome. So I don't know if I complemented the answer before, but we are at your disposal if necessary, of course.
Thank you, Dr. Camilo. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay. Our next subject is building better bones and GHLF Global Bone Health Initiative on the relationship between bone health and bone condition. Mr. Adam Kegley is not with us, but we have a pre-recorded presentation. 5 minutes.
Excuse me for that. Okay, there's something going on here. About yeah.
Try another media.
Another media. But I don't know why it's popping up all the time.
All the time.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Adam Kegley, and I am the Manager of Global Partnerships at the Global Healthy Living Foundation, or GHLF. GHLF is a global nonprofit organization headquartered in New York, USA, representing people and their families worldwide impacted by chronic diseases. And I just wanted to take a moment to say we are very proud to be a sponsor of Agora's 2022 annual conference, and we thank them for the opportunity to share with you today a bit about our organization and a great new program we are launching. We are committed to furthering the knowledge of key chronic diseases and treatment landscapes while facilitating and promoting disease-agnostic, multidisciplinary efforts through education among patients, caregivers, healthcare providers, and other public stakeholders. as well as through motivation, advocacy, and awareness, which contributes to improved patient outcomes. Within our efforts, we are promoting mental and physical wellness through education, support, and communication channels with healthcare providers, raising the patient's voice among decision makers, and creating education for improved outcomes and overcoming barriers to care. We would like to share with you that GHLF is actively working on a global bone advocacy program to implement patient-centered education, awareness, and engagement on bone health and osteoporosis concerning patients' existing disease states and/or comorbidities that patient groups and organizations can provide to their communities. There are 3 central pillars of the program, which include, number 1, partnering with international, regional, and local patient groups of various disease states that are comorbid conditions to osteoporosis. 2, forming a global council comprised of representatives of those organizations working in comorbid conditions to osteoporosis, as well as bone health organizations to help steer, work, and inform patient communities around the world. And 3, conducting a global, social, and conventional media campaign to share resources, engage patient communities, and enhance knowledge and awareness of the importance of bone health for chronic disease patients. Patient content that will be provided for you to share with your community revolves around a variety of bone health-related information, explaining, for example, that patients with comorbid conditions with a fragility fracture may be because of osteoporosis, not what patients may consider their primary disease. That also includes the important understanding that despite patients' primary condition, they should be able to sustain simple falls without fractures, and even understanding what options their country's health system provides them with in relation to bone density scans or DEXA scans, and fracture prevention, or with a co-condition that already limits mobility, such as any form of inflammatory arthritis, lupus, muscular dystrophy, and others. An osteoporosis-related fracture can severely and often permanently restrict a patient's mobility. Or another example, from people managing conditions like asthma, inflammatory bowel disease, or multiple sclerosis, several treatment options include risks of bone density loss and can greatly increase risk of fractures or osteoporosis. So patients with co-conditions of osteoporosis and those who are often unknowingly at risk of bone density loss are those patients who need this information the most, and it is critical to the ongoing quality of life for people with co-conditions. So our goal is to ensure increased awareness that osteoporosis is not an incidental condition that can be ignored, especially if someone has a mobility-limiting co-condition, and the understanding that secondary fracture prevention is a critical piece of knowledge for patients and a necessary part of the treatment protocol after a fragility fracture. So if you are interested in obtaining information about this exciting new global program or in joining our new global council of representatives of patient organizations from around the world, please reach out to us at the contact information provided in this presentation. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Now I invite Igor Medojevic. Okay. About our next conference in Montenegro. Thank you.
Thank you, Star.
Hello, everybody. My name is Igor, the president of Rheumatic Association Montenegro. Thank you, Sebastian. And it is a big opportunity to be host in Montenegro next year because it's very important date for association because we have anniversary. It is 20 years about establishing our association. And also we are recognized about government and pharmaceutical that we are struggling and fighting for the law of patient. And this is for us the big opportunity that to get the beautiful pictures, even for the patient, for rheumatologists, for government, pharmaceutics, that when see the Agora arrive in Montenegro, this is the change mind about these things. We are fighting all the time, but this is big plus for us. And also, what I want to tell more, I prepared a presentation, but I quit. Do you know why? I quit because I don't want to show you, only because one thing, I think that is the better. When you came next time in Montenegro, the best presentation is our hospitality, that shows our activity, that shows our members, that shows everything what we are done in Montenegro, and I hope that we are a bit good host for all of you. And I call Mr. Dimitrios to put some small pictures, a small video about Montenegro that you see where you come. Welcome to Montenegro.
You make us full of expectations, Igor. So you are in trouble now.
No, this is our satisfaction, not trouble. This is a good challenge.
Yeah.
Podgorica is surprise. Why I show you Podgorica? Your eyes. This is very clever. I choose something for surprise.
Okay, so thank you, Igor, and I wish all the best for Montenegro for organizing the next Agora conference. As you mentioned, it will be a challenge. It's always a challenge, but I'm pretty sure you will be up to the task, and you will be able to surprise us in the best way. So it's now my role to start with the concluding remarks of the conference. Again, for me, it was, and for our organization, it was a great pleasure and a huge honor to be able to organize this Agora conference in Lisbon. And I think it was a successful event. And I don't plan to have a summary because we had so many things in our minds after these 2 days in different directions for Agora and for our own organizations. At least I think we all take, even myself, take home these ideas where to go to, and we are pretty much aware that we are not able to do everything. We need to prioritize, but at least you have now a lot more of ideas where to move forward. And I think the most relevant thing is to get an opportunity of networking together face-to-face once again. And I think events such like the Agora conference are certainly very useful to again help building collaboration and networking and friendship among all. I would like also to thank the Agora board and the task force, Ana Vieira and Ana Ribeiro, from our staff who also help us prepare this conference. And especially thank you all for coming to Portugal.
First of all, it's been a challenge for Agora to make this conference face to face after a lot of time, since 2019 in Cyprus actually. And it was very hard also for Portuguese organization to be prepared because we didn't know if the situation of the world of the pandemic will allow us to do it. So it was very challenge, and thank you for your efforts and for all the preparations that you make, you, Elsa, Anna, and staff of the Portuguese League Against Rheumatism. It was really amazing for us to be this 2-3 days in Lisbon, in the very beautiful city of Lisbon, even though we didn't see enough. We will see in the afternoon. So it was very, for us, very excited that we are here and that we see all the people that for the last 3 years we are watching them through the cameras. And I would like to thank the organization. Also, I would like to thank the sponsors of our conference. I would like to thank the speakers and the coordinators, the task force. As I said yesterday, without task force, we cannot have a successful conference. So I would like to have some hands that they are willing to be task force members for the Montenegro Agora conference. So, yeah, if somebody wants to contribute, okay. Kadi, please note them. Yeah, we have them also. We have you also on camera, so we will not skip us. So thank you very much, because it's a hard job. We have to organize 1 year before we start our organized process for this event. So it's hard job. And I would like to inform you that we will upload the video of the conference after we have all the signs of the presenters on our website, but we will send it to our members also. So you will have the availability to see it with the rest of your organization members. We will send you also evaluation form about the conference to tell us what did you like, what you didn't like, what would you like to see on the next conference, and suggestions, not only for the topics, but for the whole preparation for the whole conference. And we have to have some ideas about the next after 2023. We have to have some willingness of other organizations to host the Agora conference for 2024 and 2025. We have a suggestion they told me yesterday from Greece for 2024, so, and from Bulgaria for 2025. So we and Malta and Israel. So yeah.
Every half year. Why year?
You're gonna have a burnout. You're gonna have a burnout.
Yeah, we have to consider everything, and we will reach you. Yes, I know about Malta, but I know that we were talking about it if we are going to make it on 2023. So, 2024. Yeah, so we will talk again. Thank you that you are willing to host it. This is very important to us, that you are excited of hosting the conference. It means that it's very important for you also, as is Agora, for Agora very important. So we will be in touch. It's not a decision from me, it's a decision, it's a board decision. Okay, regarding the board, we have a small meeting today in the morning, and the decision is that we will continue as we are after the elections yesterday. Boriana will continue as General Secretary, Sebastian as Treasurer, Anna Vieira and Athanasia Papa as members, and I will continue as Chair. So thank you for this trust. And thank you for all the support that we have from you, because without the support we cannot continue. This is the end.
And I think you also should continue to present.
And before the end, I would like to inform you that we will leave the hotel at 6:30 with a bus to go to a city tour at 6:30 on the lobby. And after that, we will have we will go for a gala dinner. We will go for gala dinner. To it again. Mahi says we will go to it again. Yes, we will go to it again. And I would like to make a special thanks, and I want a big clap for Kadi and for Dimitris. Because without them, we wouldn't have all the organizers of the event. Yes, especially Igor Video. Thank you a lot, and see you tonight. Anna. Yeah, it's a gift for, we have a gift for everyone. And before you go, you will pick it up from the secretariat table. Yeah.
Thank you.